we didn't get this right. That's my responsibility, and I'm accountable for that.
That could be the understatement of the year. Of course, that the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, he's got a mountain of explaining to do this season. And just take the statement he even gave in that interview to CBS, saying that talking about Ray Rice, but he could also be talking about the Adrian Peterson child abuse case, the Greg Hardy domestic violence case here. I can go on and on, but you've got a domestic violence, many people say pattern going on in this league, especially if you look at some of the arrest records. Then there's other cases. Trust me, I could spend the whole program going into some of these major problems. Then there comes the money, tons of it. The NFL last season had revenues pushing $10 billion. That's more money than the GDP of, take Jordan, for example. It's more than doubled, if you want to do a point of comparison, since 2001. And the league thinks revenues will hit $25 billion annually by the year 2027, and I wouldn't bet against it. Goodell's mea culpa could and maybe should also cover the culture when it comes to NFL violence and violent behavior by its players. Last year we were talking about the hazing stuff. Then you had concussions, huge issue, and also how complicit they were or whatever. Then you had the gay bashing. Then you had some of the racism stuff. Then you had the suspension policy. Again here, you know a lot of the backstory. But what does the NFL do, especially even when you're making money hand over fist? And there's a question as to, have they pushed the envelope here? They use it, apply pressure, or, many would argue, to make even save money, showing a financial arrogance here that a lot of people say is part of why there is so little forgiveness of the public right now. They put pressure on two of the biggest pop stars in the world. Get this, Katy Perry and Rihanna. They actually want them, usually think about this, a halftime performance here, the league wants them to pay. NFL wants a cut of their post-Super Bowl tour profits. Just a little symbolic about, you know, where they feel their leverage point is. They also put pressure. How about cheerleaders? They make $45 a game here, and they had to go to court here to try and get basic things like benefits. And you know those, even the outfits, they make them even buy the outfits here. All small and singular little things here, but the basic argument about fighting to even get minimum wages for part of the game here really speaks to a disconnect between the league, one would argue here, and some of the other problems. And then, as we've seen in many cases, when the guy at the top of the hill gets in trouble, a lot of people are rushing to pile on. The NFL puts pressure on its own fans here, PSLs, those personal seat licenses. I know a whole lot of loyal fans here who were going to Jet and Giant games long before, and they couldn't afford the new tickets. But that's commerce. Okay, you know what? Fair is fair. Everybody's got a right to make a buck here. But you talk about the public being asked to forgive and forget when it comes to some of these issues, and that is where we have a problem here. PSLs, just take Minnesota for example, they cost up to $9,500 here from where it used to be. So we bring into this where the league is right now, how much trouble they are in right now, and even when it comes to the advertisers, where the advertisers are willing to say enough is enough when it comes to domestic violence. All right, before I even get to the dollars and cents of the league, let me ask you guys, have you remembered a time where the NFL not only had a worse couple weeks, but more than that, the first time that the league seemed vulnerable, even in a small way here, that the public isn't saying, you know what, I can have a line here with this league. I don't remember a time where people who still are insatiable for the games have said, wait a minute, you know what? I don't want to align myself with all the stuff these guys are doing. I think we've seen here a tipping point of sorts.
Well, first of all, this is the power of the media and the power of when they want to grab onto something, and they have not been fan favorites of Goodell. You know, if you look at the track record, and if you put the NFL players, who we all believe should have a greater responsibility, in many cases because they make much more than the average person, the amount of problems they have are a lot less than society in general.
Wait, Tom, that's not true, Tom. I'm not going to let you say that on the floor. The arrest rates for an NFL player compared to general society is much higher. When domestic violence...
Richard, you are wrong. Richard, you are just wrong about...
Wrong.
Richard, if you take the average age of an NFL player against the average age of those same people in society, the arrest rate is not as high for the amount of players in the NFL. That is not factually true. It's been reported widespread. It was reported. It is not true.
Tom, Tom, wait a minute. You're going to go to an average company, okay, and the average guy working at the gas station, okay, does not exactly have the same benefits that the NFL players do.
Richard,
Time out.
Richard,
For you to connote that domestic violence cases aren't through the roof in the league, and it's a media creation,
they're not. Richard, they're not through the roof. Okay, there are problems in the league, and one is through the roof in my personal book. But what I'm saying to you is, when you take the 1,500 or 1,700 players in the NFL and the amount of people who are arrested for the cases they're arrested for, it is less than society in general for that same age group. That's all I'm saying to you. I'm saying that they should have a higher responsibility.
No. Before we go to what their responsibility is, you don't believe the NFL has a domestic violence problem?
Richard, you're now going all over the place.
How about you answer the question?
I'm making the case that I think one case is a problem. I'm saying to you, in society as a whole, we have a domestic violence problem.
No, you're attempting to say that somehow the media here has taken a problem and blown it out of proportion compared to society.
No, I didn't. What I was saying, no, Richard, you're bouncing all over the place. What I'm saying is, they found a situation with Goodell where they didn't like the penalty on Ray Rice. We knew back in April that he punched his fiancée in the face. The fact that you and the media needed to see the video before you became outraged.
Me?
I'm talking, you're part of the media. I'm saying in April I was outraged by it. In April I said I would ban him, get him out of the league. He has no business being in the league for punching a woman. It took the media, after Goodell said 2 games, they waited. After Goodell said 2 games, we then saw the video and it became a thing. Goodell can't win with you guys.
Crap of like the whole media throw a blanket over. If you look at the show, we all said at the time when 2 games came down, it was a joke and he deserved a lot more than that. Here's my thing.
Yeah, you said that. We all said that. We all said that. But did you see the fire outroar until the video came out? No. But where was everybody when Goodell was penalizing everybody time and time again? They kept saying, Goodell's too harsh on this. He's a czar. He's a thug. Now he's too easy. He can't win.
Let's talk about what he decided to crack down on. He decided to crack down on any use of any supplements or enhancements. And some people thought it may have gone too far, but God forbid you wear the wrong socks or the wrong shoes, your uniform's hanging out, or you celebrate in the end zone. Right. You're going to have the hammers getting dropped. However, in this particular case, we learned firsthand what he really thought about what the punishment should have been for Rice. Now, forget about the investigation, what he did or didn't know. I'm talking about this bizarre, tortured situation that I've seen going on in North Carolina for the Panthers, and now that I'm seeing with the Vikings. Time after time, they're only making their decisions when they see that there could be a payback here from advertisers, from sponsors, and maybe, God forbid, end-of-end fans here, where they say, what do you stand for? We're looking at some of the sponsorships here. The folks have said to the NFL, and they disagree with you, this isn't some media creation. They don't think the NFL is handling this the right way, and they don't believe that they've gotten their house in order. I don't know, Andrew. I believe that there's been hypocrisy going over where the league stands and where they don't. And there's been a vacuum where I haven't heard from the commissioner, who I liked before this whole scandal came down.
I think it's pretty obvious that the NFL's been reactive to all of this. And I'm not sure I'm ready to castigate the entire media or the knee-jerk reaction of people who apparently didn't get it until they saw the video. But that's neither here nor there. Clearly, it's out and it's an issue at this point. But I think the NFL's been a couple of steps slow on this all the way through, and there's enough criticism now for the NFL where they'll at least do a PR move or two to try to make themselves look better. But we showed the list of the companies that were seriously either pulling their merchandise or writing basically threats to the NFL saying, get your house in order or we're going to take action. It's only when the companies start threatening to pull their ad dollars and the money stops flowing into the NFL, or God forbid when people stop watching, that it's really going to be an issue. And by the way, people aren't stopping watching.
Numbers are actually down, though.
But let me just bring Dominic in this for 1 second. Listen, with the concussions that have been going on, I know there's all conversations. I know from even friends of mine with their sons and stuff. They think twice, where they never would have thought twice about having their kids play youthful. And we see participation is down. Ratings are through the roof here and always have been. It's one of the one constants in the stratified media. People watch their football. They want their football. But if you think about the biggest growing demographic of the viewing audience, it's women right now. And this story is not going to sit very well. We've already seen how it's played out. Do you see a possibility, when you don't have the feeder system going anymore, where people grew up with the sport as much, that there's a chance that the NFL doesn't go away? That's not going to happen. but that the NFL's popularity starts to ebb a little bit. We saw this with every other major professional sport at one time or another in this country. Could it happen to the NFL?
Perhaps it should, but I really believe it won't at all. I think that the fan base is so strong across the country that, and I think what Tom was trying to say, and I shouldn't speak for him, but that this is a lot media-driven right now. And maybe it's payback for the NFL for being such a monster and a beast, if you will. When I say that a monster and a beast, I mean in terms of its huge business success. So maybe it's payback time. I don't know. Maybe that's what you were trying from the media.
What I was trying to say is that why don't we focus on when we have a new player agreement? Okay, you got to have an agreement with the Players Association. If Goodell had walked into the negotiating table and said to the Players Association, look, if there's a domestic violence case, I'm banning the guy for life. The Players Association, is going to go crazy about that.
But
this is
you make it sound like he tried and was turned down. That didn't happen.
But you know that he tried on many different occasions and gets blowback on. I'm saying is that hindsight is 2020.
You're giving the league such a benefit of the doubt.
I'm giving the benefit of the doubt is that Goodell has made it very clear from day one. I don't want bad guys in this league. Now, whether it's putting socks up, whether it's DUIs, DWS, I'm in agreement with everybody at this table. I personally believe if you get convicted as Hardy did of domestic violence, you should be banned from the league, period. I don't care if he can go to another court, he could have another hearing, but until that time, you are banned. They need to take a stand.
I just want to say quickly, piggybacking on Andrew's point, past weekend, I was up in Canada, and if you saw the amount of people that were going from Toronto to Buffalo
sure.
for them, I saw people, I was having breakfast at 7 a.m., and I saw hundreds of people with Bills jersey on, Miami jerseys on. You may hurt the NFL brand temporarily, but the league is not going anywhere.
You know what, though? I think for the first time, people are starting to say, there's an arrogance about the league, okay? And maybe some of it's warranted in terms of the ratings and the television contracts and everything else. We saw it play out a little bit with the Redskins' name fiasco this past year, certainly with the handling of this particular thing. There is a point where every organization that really doesn't have checks and balances or limits that they have to worry about, they run up to something. We'll see how the league handles this, and I'm very curious the next time we hear Goodell speak what he will say. All right, now head over to Facebook and Twitter because we're going to ask you the question I'm going to ask this panel, and everybody has got an opinion on this one, and it has to do with disciplining your child. Where should that line be drawn? You're going to be shocked when we get in with our legal panel about where those legal lines are because there's a lot of gray area in this one. When we come back, the Adrian Peterson case, he's charged, as you know, with injuring his son during a bloody beating. Again, we're talking about a 4-year-old kid here, prompting questions for parents everywhere. How far is too far when disciplining a child? We'll ask that question when we return.